topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good afternoon, Arizona. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show, where for the last 16 years, almost 17 now, we are bringing you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. I got to tell you, our expert who's been with us for a while just shocked me. I am totally shocked. We do neuropathy shows across the country. This is our Arizona show that we do. And Dr. Patrick Sars, who I have so much faith in, he is one of the top specialists when it comes to treating neuropathy. He just shared something with me right before the show, and I'm going to let him tell you about it. But first of all, I want to bring Dr. Sars on. Dr. Sars, I got to tell you, I'm like in total shock because all the shows we've done, the expert has said, now this is what doctors prescribe, but it really doesn't help at all. And you've got some of the most incredible information you found. But first of all, tell us about your Practice Neuropathy Treatment Center of Arizona.
Well, I'm located in Mesa, Arizona, but my treatments are actually done at home. So I have patients throughout the entire country and Canada and some overseas. So, but it is basically, I got involved in treating neuropathy because my mom suffered with it for 32 years. She spent the last 16 years of her life in a wheelchair. And my goal basically is to prevent as many people as I possibly can from that same type of fate that, my parents had a lot better ideas of what they were going to do for their retirement than what actually occurred. So we've been doing this for be 18 years in April with increasing success because of the fact that I've learned a lot in the last 18 years and technology has advanced dramatically in that period of time. And so of the patients that I have accepted for care in the last 5 years, 98% of them have gotten at least a 65 to 100% improvement. A couple of examples of what I've got is had one patient that had a difficult time just walking around the block. She's originally from Colorado, was an avid hiker, but had to give that up. And she came in October to tell me that she'd hiked 2 miles down into the Grand Canyon and back, and then walked another 3 or 4 miles around the rim this past summer. Another patient in Lewiston, Montana that did this basically through telehealth. She and her husband owned a restaurant. She had literally not left her house for 4.5 months except to go to doctor's appointments. Talked to her about a month after she started treatment, and she told me that they'd had a special or some sort of celebration at their restaurant, private party, and that she had actually been able to go and bus tables for 2.5 hours. So
wow.
These are the types of things that I expect to get. These are the types of results that we can actually get, particularly if we catch it in time.
Hey, Dr. Sars, tell us about your success rate, and then I have a follow-up question.
Basically, when I first started, about 55% of the patients responded to what we did. And then we learned some things, supplements in this that would help to enhance the amount of oxygen. You have to understand neuropathy is a secondary disease. That is, it's caused by something else. So there's no cure for it. According to Mayo Clinic in Scottsdale, it's about 20 miles north of where I'm from or where I'm located. They say there's about 200 different causes for neuropathy. So to actually have a cure, we'd have to have 200 different cures. Neuropathy is a secondary disease. It's caused by something else going on in your body. But 90% of the cases of neuropathy, the cause or what happens is there's a loss of oxygen to the nerve endings. And if we can reestablish that oxygen to the nerve endings and then stimulate the mitochondria, which are the energy portions within the nerve cells themselves, we can actually get the nerves to start working back the way they're supposed to. And I've learned who I can and who I can't help. And so this is the reason that my success rate is at 98% at this point.
So here's my follow-up question. I see all kind of ads on the internet about neuropathy, different cities, different states. And I got to tell you, there's a lot of them that say basically they can cure anybody. What I love about you, Dr. Sars, is you are so honest on your success stories. And I just found that so refreshing because I know there's no way everybody's body is different. There's no way that you can treat every single person.
No, it's too many things, too many variables, and other health considerations that we need to take into consideration with some people that basically going to render it that they're not going to respond. And the other thing is no one out there, and I don't care who they are, they do not have a cure for neuropathy.
Right.
I was naive enough to think that I was curing neuropathy for the first 8 years, and then I got a tremendous wake-up call when we contacted about 200 patients that I treated from 2008 to 2014 to see how they were doing, and pretty much got my butt handed to me and was told that they were all as bad, if not worse, than they were when they first came to see me. Now, the thing is when I released them from care, they were much better. So I knew I had an effective treatment, but I didn't have a cure. And so that's when we started to go to a home treatment protocol so people could get it under control and then continue to keep treating themselves as needed so they can keep it that way. And we've had tremendous success in being able to do that now.
Well, I got to tell you, and we just talked about this before the show, I think I've got about 5 neuropathy people who specialize in neuropathy around the country in other states. And they all would say the same thing, and you're going to have to pronounce the drug name, but they talk about a drug that a lot of the doctors prescribe for neuropathy. And you just told me something that just blew my mind.
Well, the drug name the generic name is gabapentin.
Yes.
When it first came out, it was called Neurontin, was the brand name. It was a drug by Pfizer. It is a drug that was initially developed for epilepsy, so that basically it works with the synapses of the nerves in the brain. And so the goal is that it could actually mask the symptoms of neuropathy, and this was what they thought. AI is tremendous in that you can find out a lot of different things about this, and this is something that I actually found out. I wanted to know how effective gabapentin was, and what I got redirected to was a federal lawsuit, or I guess court ruling, where Pfizer in 2004 pled guilty to a felony in the fact that they had fabricated the research that showed that gabapentin could actually help with neuropathy and with pain. And they hid research that showed that it didn't work. They had ghostwriters actually write the research and then paid doctors to put their name on it, and then had doctors basically promote it, and they paid them for the promotion. And the Department of Justice actually got them to admit to a felony, paid a $430 million fine, and basically, unfortunately, it was a slap on the wrist, and that was about it, because the DOJ cannot make the FDA actually pull a drug off the market, even though it's not effective, even though they proved that it was not effective. It's in the guidelines. And this is basically why it is still prescribed today. Most doctors are not told that this lawsuit or this ruling was ever done, but you can look it up. It is actually real, because I was quite concerned about expressing this and possibly getting sued, because I'm not going to be able to stand up against Pfizer. But when I saw the court documents, now I don't have that much fear. But this is something that actually did occur. And this is the type of thing that they don't have an answer for a lot of things. There's a doctor by the name of Siddhartha Mukherjee, and I know I probably butchered his name, but he's a Stanford-educated, Harvard medical doctor, one of the leading cancer researchers in the world. 2015, he did a TED Talk about the future of medicine. But before that, he talked about how the past and basically how we've become so drug orientated and why. And it was due to the fact, the introduction of the antibiotic, because of the fact that the antibiotic basically could kill a disease that up until that time might be lethal, a pneumonia or syphilis or something this way. And he said that it just revolutionized medicine as we know it. And so we've tried to develop drugs to basically take care of everything. The problem is that neuropathy, like a lot of different things, is a chronic disease that actually causes chemical changes in the body. And he estimated that there's about 1 million different chemical processes that go on in the body. And now this is in 2015, so this is a little dated. That's 11 years ago. But at that time, he said that out of the 22,000 different prescription medications that were available at that time, and the 1 million different chemical processes in the body, we could only affect about 250 total out of those 1 million chemical processes. So in overall, it doesn't really work for chronic conditions.
Well, the biggest question in a show like this, Dr. Sars, is what are the symptoms? What should people be looking for if they think they might be a candidate for neuropathy?
Basically, what's going to end up happening is they're going to end up with intermittent numbness, some tingling in their feet, possibly in their hands. Primarily, it's going to start occurring in their feet, and it'll come and go initially, may only be in one foot. But it becomes a little bit more intense, a little bit more prolonged, and a little bit more common. It can start to get so that it's something that they're bothered with every day. They may notice that their problems that they feel it more at night. And the reason is that basically neuropathy affects the sensory nerves and cause the cells at the ends of the nerves to actually kind of die off and go deeper into the tissue. And so you still have some normal nerve endings. So during the day, you've got shoes and socks on, you're up, you're doing things, you're stimulating those normal nerves, and they'll override the abnormal ones at that time. But then at night, when you take your shoes and socks off and you're relaxing, you're not doing anything to stimulate those normal nerves. And so the abnormal ones become more prevalent. And so most of the time, people are going to notice these symptoms more at night than in the day. But as it progresses, and it is a progressive disease, they'll start to notice that they're noticing the symptoms all the time. Their balance might start to become affected because the sensory nerves are receding deeper into the tissue on the sole of the foot, so they're not getting the sensation of where their foot's actually at. Might find that when they go to accelerate in the car that they're a little jerky because they're not doing a smooth acceleration on the accelerator, or they brake too hard because basically we start to lose proprioception.
Well, how does someone know the difference between neuropathy, which causes balance problems, and say vertigo?
Well, vertigo, you're going to have a little bit more of a problem with dizziness and things this way. You can have some balance issues because of the fact that if you had hypertension or that, because the medications, that you may stand up real quick and your blood pressure drops, and that can actually cause you to be somewhat dizzy. But it's more of a vertigo type of thing. What will end up happening is that a quick movement, if you turn fast, or you may find that you're not picking your feet up quite as high and you're more likely to stumble because just an innate fear that even though you may not necessarily be aware of it, you innately are aware that you don't quite have that awareness. So you're not picking your feet up like you used to, and so you might catch it on things that you normally wouldn't have done, and causing this. That kind of the best way, and this is not something I recommend somebody to do, but the best way that you can kind of tell is if stand still, have somebody in front of you to make sure that they're going to catch you, but close your eyes and see if you start to move back and forth. Because what will end up happening is that as neuropathy increases, the problem becomes more relevant, you're going to become more dependent on your depth perception. And so when you close your eyes or in the dark, you realize that you have difficulty. That people with neuropathy should make sure they have night lights on throughout their house. There's to avoid stumbling and falling in the dark, because you are becoming extremely reliant on what you see for your balance.
Why does neuropathy have so many symptoms?
We've got different nerve endings carry different sensations. I mean, we feel heat, we feel hot, we feel cold, we feel cool. It's not the same nerve. We got pain, light touch, vibration. All of these things are different nerve endings, and depending on which ones are affected, it's going to depend on what we're actually feeling as far as the sensation goes. I mean, a lot of people have hard time understanding, and particularly if somebody that's not suffering with neuropathy, but somebody that is goes, geez, my feet are numb and they hurt like heck. And, the person that they're talking to might look at them like, what are you talking about? Because their idea of numb is going to the dentist, getting a shot of Novocaine, and the dentist is in there digging around doing all kinds of things. And you don't really feel anything until after that Novocaine wears off. But what ends up happening here is that the nerves that carry the sensation of cool and heat, when they recede, that actually can make your feet feel numb, and then your pain fibers get involved also. And so you can get sharp shooting pains and numbness at the same time. The thing is that the pain can get so bad for some people that their feet no longer feel numb. That one of the things that it's comical from my vantage point. It's not for somebody that's actually going through it. But when the people start with me and their pain levels start to subside and go, well, geez, my feet, the pain's gone away, but my feet got really numb. And no, your feet were really numb before. It's just the pain was masking the numbness.
So would you walk me through, someone comes in for an appointment, they think they might have neuropathy. Where do you start with them at?
History, basically. There are different medications that actually cause neuropathy. There are certain antibiotics that can cause neuropathy, some blood pressure medications. Statin drugs will cause neuropathy for some people, for the vast majority of people. Though we don't acknowledge that here in the United States, but it is acknowledged in other civilized countries. But so basically go over their history, see what types of things, what type of work they may have been. They might have been around toxins and that. When I first started this, I had a lot of Korean War vets, and basically they had suffered frostbite in the Korean War, and that caused their nerves to recede. Then we went into the Vietnam, and they had Agent Orange, and that caused it. And so diabetes is the number one cause. And basically the reason being is when somebody's blood sugar goes up, the sugar actually attaches to the red blood cell. And it makes kind of the red blood cell become sticky. And so it won't release the oxygen like it should. I'll try this analogy and see if this actually makes sense to you. It's the taxi driver picks you up and takes you to your destination, but somebody, while you were in the car, they glued the doors shut. So he can get you there, but he can't let you out. And that's the type of thing that ends up happening when sugar attaches to the red blood cell. It won't let the oxygen release from the red blood cell. And that loss of oxygen is actually what causes the damage to the nerves. And then it can also start to cause damage to the capillaries, which is the microcirculation, where we actually have the exchange of oxygen and nutrients from the bloodstream to the tissues. And so the capillaries start to break down. Or it could be a toxin that causes the capillaries to break down in the first place, and the red blood cells are working fine, but then there's no way to actually get it out of the bloodstream into the tissues. And so this loss of oxygen basically interferes with the normal function of the cell, that it affects the mitochondria, which is the energy portion within any cell in our body. And mitochondria basically takes the food we eat and the oxygen we breathe and turns it into energy. Well, if you can't get the oxygen, you can't make the energy. And if we don't have the energy, things die.
Can you tell by doing a history and physical on a patient if it sounds like they could have neuropathy?
Generally, yes. The test that I do is called the Toronto Clinical Scoring System for Peripheral Neuropathy. Basically, it's a sensory exam. I know traditionally you go to a neurologist, they're going to do an EMG, but the nerve conduction study actually only has a reliability of about 60%. Now, the one that I do is subjective, but basically what we do is we test them for 7 different sensations, finding out if they can feel the 7 different sensations to the same degree as a spot on their face. When everything is normal, you've got the same nerve endings up in your cheek that you do in your big toe. You should feel everything pretty much the same way. As we get older, we might lose a little bit, but no more than 10, 15%. But if we start to have a 40, 50, 60, 70% loss of sensation in your big toe in relation to how it feels up here in the cheek, we got a pretty good idea that you've got neuropathy.
I got to tell you, Dr. Sarge, your show, I never thought this show would be this interesting. Your show goes by so fast, and the amount of emails that we are getting. Tell people how they can reach you.
Well, we'll do a little other promotion. I'm in Mesa, Arizona. My phone number is 480-556-1358, and it's on the bottom of the screen there. Website is neuropathycurable.com. That's a facetious one. The answer is no, but it is treatable. But I do, if you'd like to get more information, I offer a free consultation, or a couple times a month, I actually do lunch and dinner talks, and I'll actually pay for you to come and listen, pay for your lunch or your dinner, and you can listen to me talk. Various different places in the Mesa, Chandler, Gilbert areas, so that you can call the phone number and want to know when we're doing our workshops, and be more than happy to let you come and eat on my dime.
Dr. Sarge, we can't thank you enough. You'll be back again with us next month with your live show for March. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
All right. Take care, Steve.
Thank you. That's Dr. Patrick Sarge. We're going to go to a break. When we come back, we've got more Ask the Experts.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Experts show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.